Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of MFP Live. I'm Donna Ladd, the founding editor of the Mississippi Free Press. And as usual, my co-host tonight is Kimberly Griffin, who is she's the co-founder of the Mississippi Free Press and the founding publisher. So hello, Kimberly. How are you?
Hello.
And we are just tickled. I mean, Kimberly's like off the walls excited about this. I know I may not say anything, which is okay if it works out that way. But we are so proud to have as our guest tonight, Dr. Carmen Walters, who is the current president of Tougaloo College and has been the president since, she was telling me, July 1st, 2019. Mm-hmm. So that's quite the tenure that for the beginning of your tenure to be go straight into a pandemic, I know. But welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, and it's nice to meet both of you.
So, Kimberly, why don't you get us started?
So I am, I tell people some of my favorite people graduated from Tougaloo College, including my brother, several of my first cousins, lots of my friends, most of my doctors graduate from Tougaloo. And for people who don't know the history of Tougaloo, if you could just give us an elevator speech on when it was founded, who was founded by, what its goals, aims, and missions are currently, that'd be awesome.
Well, Tougaloo is 151 years old, founded in 1869. And it's a wonderful history because many people are familiar with the Amistad court case. And the Amistad court case, the American Missionary Association worked to get the Africans back to Africa. They raised money to do that. And then they turned around and raised money to start 5 colleges, 5 universities, of which Tougaloo is one of those 5, along with Fisk University and Hampton and a few more. And since that time, Tougaloo has educated African-American males and females. During that time, of course, the land they purchased was the Bodie plantation. The Tougaloo is a plantation where the mansion still stands today, that the plantation owner built. Our former president, Dr. Beverly Wade Hogan, renovated the outside of the building. I'm renovating the inside. But for many, many years, all of the education took place in that very mansion where the slave owner lived. So it's a wonderful history. We became the Mecca for the civil rights movement in the early 60s. Of course, you ask about the Tougaloo Nine, and we'll probably talk about that. But we became a Mecca in the early 60s. The Freedom Riders, all of them took safe haven right here on Tougaloo's campus. And this year, in the summer, we may have a reunion of the Freedom Riders on campus. Every major speaker you can think of spoke on this campus, from Dr. King to Fannie Lou Hamer to Medgar Evers. And even last night, we had one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter speak to our students via Zoom. So civil rights is our red thread here at Tougaloo.
That's amazing. Of course, I'm familiar with the rich history. I'm familiar with the Tougaloo Nine, but I would like for you to expound a little bit on who the Tougaloo Nine are, what they did. Tell us some more about that.
Well, what's exciting about that is it was in March, and it's the actual date, I think, was March 1961, 1961, March 27th, where 9 students from Tougaloo staged a sit-in the main library in downtown Jackson. And at that time, African Americans were not allowed to do that. And I think they were even told there's a library across town where you all need to go and do your studying. And that sit-in was the beginning of change for that library. And so we are very proud of the Tougaloo Nine. I will try to see if I can pull up their names. It's hard for me to have their names right on my fingertips.
They're actually on the screen.
Oh, they're on the screen.
If you can see the screen.
Yes. And so the Tougaloo Nine. Let me see. I think that's the documentary folks that they're thinking.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah, so but for this year at our graduation, we are going to be honoring the Tougaloo Nine this year for 2021 for 50 years. And they will all receive honorary degrees because many of those students were not able to finish their degrees for several issues pertaining to race, pertaining to issues after the Tougaloo Nine event, after the event for many reasons. And so we feel that it's important that we make sure they understand the love that Tougaloo has for them, their history, how important it was to the entire state of Mississippi and other states in the South around the country. And so that's going to be one of the highlights of our graduation this year.
Tougaloo's graduation is one of my favorite events of all time. I always try to commandeer a ticket.
Oh,
if you have
Are you
not,
hinting?
yeah, she's hinting.
I know her now. I know her now. So.
I know, right?
And I have their names, and I think it's important. You asked me
Yes.
for those names. It's Joseph Jackson Jr., Albert Lassiter, Alfred Cook, Ethel Sawyer, Geraldine Edwards, Evelyn Pierce, Janice Jackson, James Bradford, and Meredith Anding Jr. And so we're going to be calling those names at our graduation. You know, we always have the ceremonial drums. Our speaker this year is the Attorney General, former Attorney General Eric Holder. He's going to be speaking virtually, but he is investing in Tougaloo by starting a $250,000 endowment. He's given a gift toward that goal, and we're challenging all attorneys in the state of Mississippi, especially those who have ties to Tougaloo, to support that endowment by giving $10,000 in his name.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the Tougaloo Nine, and it was a read-in, and that when I first, I've known about the Tougaloo Nine for a while now, but when I first learned about it, it's another one of those facts that kind of interrupts the narrative in a different way, because a lot of people, most people have heard of the lunch counters, they've heard of the Freedom Riders at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't always know about things like read-ins that Black people right here, not far from where either Kimberly and I are sitting, could not use the main branch of the library downtown. Mm-hmm. And it's so important to know.
And the read-in is significant because of Tougaloo's rigor and their leadership around rigor. And as soon as our students walk on campus, we tell them you're scholars. Mm-hmm. And so we start to indoctrinate them. And every Wednesday to this day, we still have what we call convocation, where we bring these speakers in with all of these different thoughts and various mindsets, which becomes the ethos for what we do here on campus. And so that read-in was significant. It was all about, we deserve to be here first and foremost, but we deserve to use the resources here and to make sure that they are trying to advance themselves while doing this sit-in. So I think that's significant, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. Well, right, because it's part of that hidden history, and a lot of, so I taught one semester there a few years ago.
Wonderful.
Taught a journalism class, and I loved it, and I'm still in touch with some of the students from that class. But what am I saying? So I think it's just so important because Tougaloo was such a center in resistance to the resistance, is kind of to white resistance. I mean, just strong resistance. People need to know that this was like a center of so much. And then and I think what you're saying really resonates, because it's, the state at that point and the South, but certainly the state was being miseducated. We weren't learning. I was in school in the 60s and I wasn't learning any of those things here, anything real about what was going on in our race history. So I've always kind of thought of it as, at least since I've understood the history, thought of it as just a center of this, to push back on this miseducation. And so to kick off from there, I wanted to ask you a little bit. Aaliyah Veal, who's a reporter for the Mississippi Free Press, I think she talked to you for this story, but the Reuben Anderson Social Justice Institute,
Yes.
That's something y'all have done in the last year, right? And so I wanted you to talk about that and, kind of we're talking about the past. Well, this is what y'all are doing now, kind of in that same tradition.
When George Floyd was murdered, we were all in disbelief of what we saw. The 9 minutes, of this person literally murdering a man in front of our eyes. And we watched that. And so people started writing right away. We need to protest. We need to be out there. We need to be fighting. And, and I agreed with that. And we had students who went out there and protested. And here in Mississippi, students from our campus and students from Jackson State got together, and the Jackson State president and I, President Hudson, we walked arm in arm with those students. Mm-hmm. But as I was walking, I thought, certainly I have to do more than protest. There has to be an education of our students to understand the systemic nature of what just happened and why this was allowed to happen in our country. So I came back talking to my team about what else are we going to do. And at the same time, we have an attorney on campus who teaches in our program for pre-law. He was talking to me about Reuben V. Anderson's Social Justice Center and how we could, get engaged with that. And we said, yes, we want to do that. And we started the Social Justice Institute here on campus. And what we're doing, we've pulled our pre-law program and our public policy program that Eric Holder is supporting with his endowment. And we created a leadership development program because we wanted students to understand more than just protest. Policy is where this has to change. We have to get the right people at the table to make sure that people understand that all lives matter, but in today's time, Black lives matter because people are being killed for nothing, for little of nothing. And that has gone on year after year after year. How do we stop it? It's getting the right people, as we always say, on the bus. But for me, I'm going to say the right people at the table, making the decisions, causing the systemic change. You don't know that change is needed unless you're educated about it. So this institute educates students about racial inequalities across the world, not just here, but in South Africa and in other countries where people, Black and brown people, are continued to be disadvantaged and are taken advantage of. So this became something that I thought was essential. And so we wrote and met and worked and pulled it all together. And Judge Anderson, who is our alum, who is a stellar, staunch supporter of Tougaloo College, sews in. He gives checks every year to our institution. We named the institute after him. And we are just trying to make sure we educate future generations, as it says in there, about race relations and what it means to have the conversations about why these things cannot continue to happen. And this institute is so important, and it's a growth opportunity for everyone. But we're doing more than just social justice around race. We're doing social justice around food. We've even started a garden to kind of help students understand the hunger in the country and in our own state. We have done so many things around the whole responsibility, a social responsibility, not just social justice. And it's our red thread. And we are writing curriculum that will change students' minds and lives. We have gotten over $500,000 from one foundation in grants, the Mellon Foundation, another $500,000 from Gilead that's helping us to do curriculum for our students. We have gotten private donors to give to this effort. And those of you who are listening to the show tonight, if you want to know more about this effort, you can call us here at Tougaloo. You can come and visit us and we can talk more about it, and you can give to that effort. This is something that's really, really important. A third component, I like to say, it's the three-legged stool, Kimberly. It's public policy, it's pre-law, and it's leadership development. With leadership development, we don't want to graduate students and all they know is medical school, right? We want them to be real leaders in the community and take on these issues. And so we are trying to make sure they're educated about boards and board makeup and how do you become a board member, what happens in board meetings, how do you get into writing policy, how do you affect the changes in policy. Some of our students, 70% of them go on to graduate school, but then we have the other 30% who go straight to work. They need to be prepared to evaluate employees because we're graduating leaders. We want them to go out and be able to supervise people, manage people, set goals and objectives, understand strategic planning and how you plan in your community to make change. So these are important pieces to our curriculum that we've added since the George Floyd murder.
I'm so glad you mentioned leadership and leaders in the community because I want you to talk a little bit about yourself. That's something leaders don't often do because you don't because you don't believe what you do not see. So I would like for you to tell us your path to the presidency. And I know we've got 2 HBCUs in there plus some other great schools. Tell us how you got here.
Well, I attended an HBCU, right, Southern and Xavier, and got my PhD at Mississippi State. But I've always worked in community colleges, and community colleges educate people who look just like you and Kimberly, right? You and Donna, and these are students who have had the world thrown at them, and they don't even believe that they can do this. And so my goal has always been to work with that group of students to say, you have the ability to do whatever you want to do. So it's hard work, right? It's taking these students who dropped out of school when they were in 10th grade, got their GED. Now I'm in college. And so I have just worked with Delgado Community College, which is one of the largest community colleges in the state of Louisiana. But after Katrina, I became one of the leaders for my campus because we lost 21 of 25 buildings.
Wow.
And my president, he said, look, we got to build this up from the ground up. Well, I was sleeping in my car in New Orleans and trying to work at Delgado and work in Baton Rouge and just became enthralled into how do we raise money? How do we raise partners? How do we raise friends? We just had to do this grassroots effort. And that kind of propelled me into administration. And I was deciding to leave Louisiana. I didn't know where I was going to go. I did my resume. And for some reason, I put on there, I'm willing to relocate. Was I really? And then I start sending it out to everyone. And Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College reached out to me and said, you got to come here. You got to help us do this. And so they gave me my own campus. I had 3,000 students. By the time I was promoted, I had 5,000 students. And so I then went to work with my president at the main campus, Dr. Mary Graham, and she and I just began to work with all the other team members to build Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. And I don't have to tell you how wonderful that institution is and all the work they do. It was my pride pride and joy to work on side of her and her team. And, I've been a grant writer, a community organizer, working in my sorority, which I see you are a part of. And,
we had regional conference today. I had to go do a camera check, and then I had to run in here.
And I have regional conference on as well right now on another device. Yes, I understand. So it's been great understanding the plight of African American students and why they need to have people who feel that this is a mission, that this is a calling. And that's exactly what I feel. I feel like I'm called to do this work. My students have my cell number. When they have challenges, I sit down and meet with them. I've started inviting them to the house on campus, and they sit at the dining room table and tell me their concerns. And our students have many concerns. They come to me with concerns, and they are choosing a small college like Tougaloo because we can do broader customer service feats. There are not many presidents that's going to put their cell number on their card and give it to the student and say, call me if you need me. There are not many presidents who's going to meet with a student, text a student, talk to them. I saw you going out the gate pretty late last night. Where were you going? So that's what this is all about. It is about us changing the pathway of our students. And sometimes we have to refer to them as difficult to serve, right? Mm-hmm. But it's up to us to say, this may be a challenge, but I'm up to it. And so having the small classrooms where the faculty know the students know the faculty, they know the administrators, they have all of our cell numbers. It's really a great environment. And I talk to parents daily to say, Tougaloo has a gate. Not many colleges have a gate, and you can't just get into the gate, right? It's not this big open campus. Mm-hmm. That is huge for today. The safety of our students, when you send your child away to school, you do not send them there to need therapy when they return. And that's what we offer at Tougaloo. We offer this safe haven. We've done that forever, from the 60s and beyond and back. So it's a wonderful gift that God has given me to work here at Tougaloo College, and I'm just so thrilled about it.
Well, we are thrilled to have you in Jackson. So you touched on something that I think is important and relevant, particularly today. We have a vice president who is a graduate of an HBCU. Yes. We have folks like the Walgreens CEO, former CEO of Starbucks, is a graduate of an HBCU. And what that does is it dispels the myth that you can't do the big thing. Right. You can't get the big job. Right. You can't get elected to the big office. Yes. That dispels that entire myth. Talk to us about what you're seeing in HBCU applications and enrollment right now.
It's through the roof, and we are thankful for that. Spelman just did a story the other day. They have more applications than any year in the history that they've been an HBCU. And we are seeing students applying more and more. And what I'm saying to students is that we are historically Black, but we are not exclusively Black. So those students who want a small environment, whether you are Native American, whether you are Hispanic, whether you are Caucasian, Asian, these environments are thriving environments. And we are seeing that with our alums. I wrote an article today with my chief of staff about our thriving environment and that soil. It's so important. You can't just plant a tree anywhere. Tougaloo is a place where you can plant yourselves and you can see the growth in your students. And we talk about them coming here and seeing themselves, coming here, finding themselves, and then leaving here and being themselves. And that's what we provide. And so with Kamala being where she is, and our own alum, Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP, he is blazing trails. Our own Congressman Thompson, Judge Anderson, Anderson, and the list goes on and on. Charlethea Franklin, who is a partner with Jones Day, attorney, and then also was on the transition team and a part of the Obama administration. She's a part of the Biden administration. Trey Harrison, who is an alum who works right now in the White House for diversity. We have alums all over, and it is amazing the support that our alums give us. The alumni support is high, it's larger than ever now, and we are so excited. We depend on them as investors. They work with volunteering to help us with our students and with any events that we have. So it's a great time to be a part of the historically Black colleges, especially Tougaloo College.
I will tell you that when I posted that we were talking to you, my whole timeline went crazy.
Oh, wonderful.
Like, oh my God, she's amazing. Yeah. We love her so much. All the Tougaloo alums were like, oh my gosh, you can call her on the phone and she'll answer. So,
yeah, that's true. I will answer. And I love it. I love when the alums call me and they're like, Madam President, what's going on with this? Because this is their college. And this college has made some great leaders. And they want to make sure that we are thriving, not just surviving. Right. And so that is my goal. And I cannot do this without them because they are extensions of me. They're out there in the community. They know what the corporations are looking for. So they can call me. I have an alum at FedEx called me to say, hey, this, and the other. Like, okay, great. Let me write that down. So it's important that we keep that linkage and that they know that I'm doing everything in my power to keep Tougaloo at the top and at the forefront of corporations' thoughts and minds so that we can get the gifts like the Mackenzie Scott gift. And, so we're pushing to make sure everyone understands the role that Tougaloo plays in the future of America.
One of the things that is forefront, especially after this most recent election, is student debt.
Yes.
And it's particularly tough for our private small schools. What would you like to see happen policy-wise regarding student debt, and what is Tougaloo doing to curtail student debt?
That's a wonderful question. One of the things that we are doing as UNCF schools, there are 103 HBCUs, but some are Thurgood Marshall, some are UNCF schools. The private schools are UNCF. So UNCF and Thurgood Marshall is partnering the entire 103 group of schools to say, you have to increase Pell. Pell, I don't have the data in front of me, but it hasn't been increased in years. And tuition has to go up because everything goes up. We have to pay our excellent faculty. We have to pay our staff, all of the things that you need to run a business. We have to do that as well. So we need Pell to be increased. We also need companies to give to scholarship dollars. We have to grow our endowment. We need to have people investing into the institutions the way Mackenzie Scott did and the way the Netflix. So we need these large gifts to have these endowments where we can take the gains from those endowments and pay tuition for students to attend the schools. Now, Tougaloo is one of the lowest tuitions in the country. People don't believe that it's cheaper to go to Tougaloo than some of the state schools right in our backyard. And so that's because we are fighting every day to raise the dollars to help meet the needs instead of putting it on the backs of students. We had a 5% increase last year, and the students asked that we not increase the tuition. We had not increased the tuition in several years. And so we said to them, we will do that. We went to the board and the board said, absolutely, we'll move the increase to this year. So this fall, we will have a 5% increase, but it's such a small increase. It's only going to increase our budget by $500,000. So we are not trying to gouge our students. We are really, really working hard to make sure that we keep tuition at a level that is affordable to parents. And when students can't pay and parents can't pay, okay. We are fighting to find scholarship dollars for those students. And we just need the federal government to step up and increase Pell. And we'd love for corporations and and philanthropists to step up and give more to our endowments.
Dr. Walters, when you were talking, then you mentioned Mackenzie Scott, who
Yes.
gave how much did she give?
6 million. 6 million.
Wow.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and for those who don't know, that's a white woman who
Yes.
right, who was the ex of Bezos, I believe, but
Yes,
had a lot of money and gave a lot of money away. But what I was thinking about while you were talking there, kind of coming from the perspective of anybody who might watch this who isn't as familiar with HBCUs, particularly maybe wealthy white people who might have money to give, like Ms. Scott did.
Mhm.
Break it down. Not so much for the folks who went to HBCUs and really understand the importance of HBCUs, but for other people, why is it important at this moment to support HBCUs instead of other colleges, or if somebody had to make a choice?
Well, I think people don't understand the contribution that HBCUs are making in America. So I'll just say with Tougaloo, historically, 34% of the medical doctors in the state of Mississippi, African American doctors, graduated from Tougaloo College. 44% of the lawyers and the educators who are superintendents and principals graduated from Tougaloo College and went on to graduate school. So we have the opportunity here in the state of Mississippi to change the path of those students who are struggling and who probably would not fit. It's not just about, can I do the work, but it's, do I feel that I am engaged, that I am a part of what's happening? Can I be engaged in that and feel that I'm in lockstep? And so the HBCU provide that. But then many predominantly white institutions look to our HBCUs for those graduates who are coming in to matriculate for the graduate program and to do research. So they are looking to us to provide them with students as well. And so investing in the HBCU today, you're investing in your local economy, you're investing in your state economy, you're investing in the nation, and you're investing in the future of America, because we need people who look like me and Kimberly in the job market, in the STEM world, in the medical field, in the cybersecurity field. We need to have that diversity in our country, all across our country, and even outside of our country. I tell my child, I said, your mother has a very hard job, right? There's only 103 HBCUs in the world. There's only 32 private HBCUs in the world, and I have one of those jobs. So you have to save that. You have to invest in that. You have to support that, because we are affecting change in the world. And so it's huge. And when you invest in our institutions, you will understand that we're worthy. We're worthy of the investment.
Well, when you were talking there, a quick thought I had, you were talking about doctors particularly, which I know Tougaloo is very proud of its medical graduates. But, we're hearing a lot, and at the MFP, we're studying this in a Black Women in COVID project that we're doing with the Jackson Advocate, but about disparities in the particular, not just everywhere, but particularly in the medical field. And also that one of the solutions to those disparities, and when we say disparities, we don't just mean hiring disparities, we mean in the way that people are treated. Right?
Absolutely.
And so when you're talking there, it makes me think of that, because the need to have more Black physicians and other medical professionals, not only treating people, I assume, but interacting, just like any workplace that needs diversity and inclusion, but that literally people's health could depend on that.
Absolutely. I had a conversation today with a colleague who talked about being on high blood pressure medicine, loved her physician. Her physician just happened to be Caucasian and could not lower her blood pressure. And she was able to transfer to another doctor, even though her spouse is still with that other doctor. She went to a different doctor who understood not just women, but African American women and our bodies and our history and our culture, and was able to design a plan that was successful for her. That matters. It matters, Donna, when you're talking to someone who understands what you have experienced as a male or a female growing up in the Black world. Now, we talk about, yes, we eat our vegetables, but it's fried corn, it's fried okra, right? It's fried tomatoes. Those are all vegetables, but how do we eat them? That's important. And it's very easy to fall in line with eat that food and I'm going to give you more medicine versus listen, I was raised on the fried corn. If I can stop it, you can stop it. That's a different conversation. And I think African American doctors will provide that to African American constituency, but also be able to serve other cultures. So it's just about being diverse and having options and having to talk to someone where you can understand them and relate to them. And then, and in Mississippi, we need that more than ever with our health disparities. We need that. And so Tougaloo and all other HBCUs who are doing this work, it truly is mission work. It truly is.
I believe that. Kimberly, you can take back if you want.
Well, one of the things that occurred to me when you were talking about the number of doctors that came from Tougaloo, the number of attorneys, one of the things that I have been concerned about is I'm noticing that many schools are becoming doctor or lawyer factories, and they're not teaching people how to critically think. I think that is that's really treacherous ground. And what I know about a Tougaloo doctor is they're going to come from a couple of different ways because they have a strong liberal arts education. That's more of a comment. One of the things that I was doing some research today, one of the things I saw about increase in enrollment, and this goes with the safety factor, but I think it's a different twist, is that many folks in the last 2, 3, 4 years with the murders of Black citizens, all over the United States by law enforcement, non-law enforcement, are going to HBCUs because that is a campus they feel physically safe on.
Sure.
For a number of reasons. Is that something you're seeing when you talk to young people? Is this like what I saw on TV, now I feel what I know happened in my neighborhood. Now I'm nervous about being in a different space right now.
I have not spoken to students per se, but I have spoken to parents. And that's why I mentioned that earlier today, because, having that gate helps, right? And having that communal feeling that someone is watching Johnny and someone is there that I can call and I can talk to. We had a student who was affected by COVID. I'm on the phone with the mom and I'm telling her, look, I'm a mother and I know what this means and I'm going to call him. I'm going to watch him. Those kinds of things are happening on HBCU campuses, and that does make parents feel safe. But then here, we don't have true policing that will intimidate students. They have police on campus that will communicate with students. We were one of the first colleges prior to me coming to have a female chief. That is huge. That is huge. And so we don't want our students to be policed. We want them to be supervised. We want them to be a part of the team. We have so many committees on campus. Our students are on all of the committees and they help make the decisions. So they have control of their environment. We just had a conversation with our SGA president about changing curfew because we're kind of strict, so they want the curfew lifted a little bit and we're kind of working with that for the next semester. semester. So yes, that is an issue. But you brought up something else when you were talking about you said this is a statement about critical thinking. And you're right with the research. If you do the research today, you're going to find that the research shows our students are not graduating out of these universities being able to think critically. That is why we need the leadership development program. We need to have students thinking critically. So last summer, Tougaloo students went on a rant. They were angry at all kinds of things, right? And they started this movement called Tougaloo Takes Control. They did that because they are thinking critically. They put together a document and wanted me to respond to all of the challenges. And we did that. We responded to every challenge that they put before us. And we said, thank you for bringing some of these things to our attention. And once that happened, students from other universities started it. Presidents were calling me, what is Tougaloo starting down there, right? But yes, we know our students are thinking critically. And sometimes it's not, there's Alcorn. They decided to jump on the bandwagon that summer to try to get engaged in that. But our students started that because they think critically and they look at situations and they take control over what they think needs to change. Those are the kinds of students we have at Tougaloo. Those are the kinds of students we're educating at Tougaloo, and we're supporting them because that is what it takes to really change a nation. And so that I wanted to come back to that to say that was important. And, I talked to Mackenzie Scott about that because her group asked me, if we Google Tougaloo, what are we going to find? And so we talked about, well, you're going to find Tougaloo Takes Control because that was trending for a whole day.
We did a story too, right?
Yeah. That was trending for an entire day. But that is critical thinking, and that is leadership. That is being engaged in your own career and your own education. And so we jumped on that with them and just got started and said, okay, let's do what we need to do. Let's make Tougaloo better. And we think we are.
One of our viewers had a comment. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but we'll talk about the backstory that you and I both probably know. During the civil rights movement, some HBCUs kicked students out, like Alice Walker was kicked out of Spelman for protesting. Now, I always feel the need to defend the ancestors here.
Yes.
Their primary job was to keep us safe. That looked unsafe.
Yes.
Right. And their job is to keep us alive and keep us safe.
Yes.
So Aisha says that some students were kicked out of Jackson State and they were later admitted to Tougaloo because of their work in the civil rights movement. Is that true? Do you know about this? And if so, sure. Tell us a little bit more.
So that's pretty normal because Jackson State is a state college. Remember, I talked about third commercial. So if you're receiving state funds and then you're trying to say the state isn't treating me fairly, there would be some kickback to that. I'm absolutely sure of it. And Tougaloo being a private college, which is so important at the time where students had a safe haven, right? The police couldn't come past the gate. And so the gate became significant. Just get into the gate, and then you were safe. And so, there's a lot of history about that. There's a lot of stories about that. We are naming our president's home at my inauguration, the Adam Bidle Gallery. My home is really an art gallery. It's filled with art. Wow. The reason we have so much art, we have more than 1,500 pieces of art that came to us from around the world. People were sending art to Tougaloo for Tougaloo to sell to support the movement. And they saw, Ronald Schnell saw the value in that and didn't sell the art. And it became a tool to teach students and to educate the community about all sorts of artists, right? So my home became a gallery. But we're going to name the home for Dr. Adam Bidle. He was one of the presidents who was the first president engaged in the civil rights movement. And some history shows that because he gave students permission in the 60s, in the early 60s, like 60 and 61, to protest, he was moved from his job because people didn't
Oh,
understand the
wow.
movement. So we don't know if all of those facts are accurate, but that's one of the stories, right? That's out there.
Right.
And so we want to name the president's house after him because he was the president that built that home. And it's a beautiful home today, mid-century modern. And, that's back in style now. And it's a beautiful home on campus. But yeah, there are many, many stories like that. But what's important to know is that those students did protest, whether they were
Right.
left, they kicked
Right.
out, whatever, they protested. And Jackson State has its own beautiful history of
Right.
being engaged in the movement and still a part of that movement today. And
Right.
so I teased my team when we were talking about Jackson State. I said that other college across the street. But we have such a partnership with them. We have our faculty here. Many of them have degrees from Jackson State. There are Jackson State alums that have degrees from Tougaloo. We are really always inextricably linked, and that's
Right.
we will always be.
Right. I'm going to switch topics just a little bit. I'd like to talk to you about your partnership with Jackson Public Schools.
Yeah.
I'm a JPS graduate, and I'm a JPS advocate because I think JPS is a gem that is often overlooked.
Absolutely.
And I know you are partnering with the Michelle Obama Academy. Tell us about that and tell us what those students leave Tougaloo and JPS with. What degrees? How does that program work?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. We are so thrilled over the high school and what they're doing. So Dr. Hogan, prior to me coming, signed an MOU with Jackson Public Schools to do dual enrollment and to have a high school on campus. That was a wonderful, wonderful partnership. We came in, and at the time they were trying to decide, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to get them enrolled in the programs and in all of that? And so they did name it the Michelle Obama Early College Program. Well, when I arrived, we did some work on the MOU, did some changes around it, did some policy, and we scheduled these students to come in their freshman year of high school. They began taking our classes very early. These students are screened by JPS, and they're selected by JPS principal, Dr. Shanella Evans, who's on our campus, and her team. And these students don't have to meet a lot of high level criteria. They do these interviews with them and talk about, are you willing to work hard, and all of those great things. They have a lot of programs that will require our students to already have this very high GPA. But these students are coming in and they're just our normal JPS high school kids. And they're taking courses with us in their freshman year and their sophomore year, junior and senior year. Right now, they're in their junior year, the first class, the inaugural class. We add a new class every year. They're in their junior year, and they are working on their final classes to have an associate's degree, and they will be a junior, they will be a senior. They're seniors in high school already because this is dual enrolled courses. So if you're taking math with me, it counts at JPS. If you're taking English with me, it counts at JPS. So they will graduate with their associate's degree from Tougaloo College. Our goal is to keep them here for the second 2 years to get their bachelor's degree. Now, the name of the school changed. The students talked to us. We talked to the students. We had several meetings, and they decided to change the name of the school. We love, of course, the Obamas. They mean the world to us. But normally, when you put someone's name on a school, it's because they're either invested in that program,
Right.
and the like. And that wasn't the case for that. We tried to get that investment, and the foundation, the Michelle Obama's foundation, was really focused on some other projects, and we understand that. They do great work all over the world. So we decided that we needed JPS and Tougaloo to get the recognition for the work that they're doing. JPS is doing great work, but you never hear about it. So
Right.
this was something where we could really show the true partnership that Tougaloo, through Dr. Beverly Hogan, had stepped up to help a situation that was really in trouble at the time. And so that wasn't happening through the name. And so now the name is, of course, JPS Tougaloo Early College. And so the students wrote up the prospectus for that. The students went to the board and had the name changed themselves. I didn't even have to attend a meeting. So they are bright scholars, and they are doing so well. In ninth grade, they're scoring 20 and 21 on the ACT with the help of tutoring from the JPS folks and the Tougaloo folks. They sit in our classes right alongside of our Tougaloo students. I was sitting in some of their classes this semester. They did presentations on in music that was outstanding. Some of them play violins. I mean, these are just wonderful students. It's a wonderful partnership. We do not have any kind of program on Tougaloo's campus without including our high school, even down to the coronation. They attend the coronation with their gowns. They're in the parades. We have Social Justice Week. They're doing things for Social Justice Week. My inauguration is coming up. They're giving speeches throughout the week for that. So we are linked together in this endeavor with Superintendent Green. We are very, very proud of it. And it's going to, just propel high school for those students to another sphere. So we're very excited.
Yeah, you talk about that, and this was before you came, but back in, I think it was 2016, started. I had been a Kellogg Fellow, and my project was to start the Mississippi Youth Media Project, which is a full-time, you may have heard it, but a full-time newsroom for teenagers during the summer. Most of them JPS students, about 75%. But you talk about this, and I'm like, I miss the program. It's kind of on hiatus now for, through until after the pandemic. But what struck me about what you said specifically, though, was about them doing that kind of business planning themselves.
Yes,
and
sure.
One of the things that we had our students do, or suggested that they do, were SWOT analyses, and they for the program itself. It's like what needs to happen next. And from the very first day, we would really encourage them to think like entrepreneurs.
Yes,
like they were starting the program and they were growing it, and they made a lot of decisions on their own and recommendations, about the way we were going to do things, even the things we were teaching. So I just kind of wanted to say that, and we all know how important these programs are. And I want to say that we plan to bring it back,
yes,
kind of after, after the pandemic. And, we've tried to get MFP going well, but to maybe work with the journalists at the MFP as well. But it strikes me that we'll be in touch, because we'd love maybe there's some sort of project that they could do together or something.
Absolutely. I was just talking to some folks at FedEx about junior achievement, and we, want to start junior achievement here in Jackson. And I was totally engaged in that in New Orleans, and I'm all for that. And so Tougaloo wants to partner with any group that, I just feel like that's what we're supposed to do, to partner with these young people and provide support to them. And they are bright, they are strong, they are intelligent, they have ideas, they really strengthen who we are. When I was working with the group, when we first got started doing all these videos for COVID-19, I had the students looking at the videos and telling me, okay, no, you need to say this. They were giving me some thoughts to say and telling me what to put on my desk while I'm sitting there for the video. And I learned so much from them. I learn every day. From our students. And so we would love to partner with you in any way we can to do that during the summer. We have a communications program. We also have a television studio that we try to engage with as much as possible. So we're interested in that.
Oh, well, we'll definitely be in touch, because
it's
very exciting. Kimberly, do you?
So one of the things that when we were talking about tell me the full name of the program again.
It's the JPS Tougaloo Early College.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We just got through this horrible admissions scandal where celebrities were spending lots of money to send their children to some really good schools and some schools that were just okay and they should have been able to get in. Yeah. But I digress. They're fine schools, but why was it hard to get in there?
I won't say anything about that. I'll let you say that.
Yeah, right. Right.
And they've got every resource and all the money and all the tutors and and so they started. Todd, our technical advisor, always talks about he started on second base because he's a white man. You know, these people started on third base and they still felt the need to do all these other things. I'm so grateful for programs like this because it catches our kids up. That's all. We just need them to catch up.
Yes,
that's right. Right. It catches them up in terms of opportunity. It catches them up. Let's talk about debt. So they're going to not have a lot of debt because they've already got 2 years under their belt.
Right. That's right.
So I think it's important for all of us to think about how we in our communities can help our students catch up. One more thing, we've only got 5 minutes left. I want you to tell us what is happening with Tougaloo over the next 12 months. How are you guys responding to COVID? Are you back in the classroom? Are you doing a hybrid? Tell us what's going on.
We are back. We did so well with COVID. Our students, we put first of all, we put a plan in place and the students wanted us to do more and do some different things. So we invited them to the committee and they helped to write the plan that we implemented. And so they followed it. We have had less than 10 students on campus to contract COVID. Some were athletes. We had to really quarantine some students for being exposed, but we have not had a lot of positive cases on campus. We've done exceptionally well. We lost one of our faculty members to COVID-19 who had been exposed over the holiday. So that was a sad experience for us, but we were able to work with Dr. Obi McNair and Dr. Myrna Alexander. These are our alums and several other alums. I had so many advisors coming to me because of all the doctors saying, do this, do that. And it has worked. Now we are doing, we were the first college to do testing along with Jackson State and Mississippi Valley, doing testing on campus with Dr. Dobbs. And we are now offering vaccines on campus. We've vaccinated our employees and our students here on campus. So we have done well with COVID. We are back in the classroom and we're doing some hybrid classes and some classes are fully online. In the fall, we will be back. In the summer, we will have summer school online, but we're planning to have a summer bridge program for all of our freshmen. This is a policy change for us because we want our freshmen to come in and back to what you said, get an early start, right? And catch up to where we are trying to make sure they are, but also to just become engaged with Tougaloo. They're coming from high school. We want them to feel comfortable in their environment. We want them to understand how we educate students, the role that our faculty plays and our administrators. So we are back and we are looking for students to register, to apply. They can apply today at www.tougaloo.edu and they can apply online. They can call my cell 601-543-5489. I will respond. They can text me. My email is cjwalters@tougaloo.edu. I try to make sure students remember it. So I said it's Cookie Jar Walters, cjwalters@tougaloo.edu. We want to work with you. We want the parents to call us to come see what we're doing, meet with our faculty, and we know that the road from Tougaloo will take a student anywhere they want to go.
Indeed, indeed.
Dr. Walters, it has just been a fabulous hour talking to you and listening to you, and you are so inspiring. And I know that Kimberly feels the same way. And she's been waiting for this interview.
I'm so excited about it. And I saw it on social media. So I was texting, I'm like, I'm going to be on live. I was thinking you guys are going to write the story, because I think that's what we did before.
Right. I think that every single week.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, really?
I'm going to be live? Yeah.
That's right. But I am getting used to it. And, you know, if the cat attacks me while it happens, it's you know, it's pandemic times. It's all good. So thank you so much for being here. I know that, you know, we're lighting it up with the comments. Everybody can share this episode, please, because we get most of our viewers after the episode. And so please, everyone, share this wonderful episode. Kimberly will be mad at me if I don't remind everyone that we are also a nonprofit organization, news organization. She's our money woman, at the Mississippi Free Press. So please, if you could go throw a few dollars in our tip jar at mfp.ms/donate. And we love recurring donations. As Kimberly says, no amount is too small or too large.
That's right.
So we really appreciate everyone's help. Yeah, cookie jar, right? Go throw it in our cookie jar. So we thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We have a very special episode again next week, and it's at a special time at 4 p.m. instead on Thursday. Actually, it's not next week. It's 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks, yes.
Yeah, we're going to announce next week's later. Sorry about that. But Thursday on the 22nd is going to be Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, and he is going to be talking with me and reporter Nick Juden fully about water and infrastructure for a full hour, announcing that here today for the first time. So look out for that. That's 4 p.m. on April 22nd. And we'll be getting the messages out about that. So thank you again, Dr. Walters. Thank you, Kimberly, for being always a fabulous co-host. And we will see everybody next week. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.